Hi guys, it's Amy. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you for coming back. Today we have another episode of Tea, Chats and Makeup. So we're drinking some tea. We are chatting about breakups and about coping with the breakups, and we're doing some makeup. So I'm creating this nice kind of purpley berry cranberry kind of eye. If you want to see me create this makeup look and give all my wisdom about breakups, I have a lot of wisdom, then just keep watching. If you worked with me in the pharmacy at any stage, you will be familiar with this mug. I bought it because I just wanted to be in better form in the pharmacy when I worked there. So I have my own coffee cup and brought it with me through all my jobs actually. It kind of just a mug that makes me feel happy. I'm drinking some lemon and green tea mix. It's gorgeous. So today I'm just doing some makeup for pictures for Instagram. I'll be completely honest, I just want to make a couple of like collages and do a bit of prep for Instagram content. I need to explain why I look like my face has muck on it. I have some of the So Sumi Wonder Water on my face today because I put on some of the Bahama Body Tan last night and my face just looked crazy, and now it looks crazier because I have my hair scraped back. I also have conditioner in my hair, which again is why I look like a boy. What we're going to talk about today, or what I'm going to talk about today, and you can comment down below if you want to, feel free. So yes, you're probably like, but Amy, why would you be talking about breakups? You are happily married and with someone long term. Yeah, I am, but like I got to there by going out with horrible people that were mean and broke up with me, and I had a lot of situations with it that I had to just be resilient in and figure out. So I guess when you're talking about the initial stages of a breakup, it is horrible. It's a really nasty time, whether you've been expecting it or whether you initiate it or not, or it's a complete surprise. There's no, like, you can't say, oh, that was actually a really easy breakup. Like, if you cared about the person you were with, it's never going to be a situation where you're like, yeah, it's fine, it's grand, you know. You're not, and even if you are, you're not at a later stage going to be like that. I think initially when the breakup happens, regardless of who does it, you need to very much call your friends and family. And I think this is actually a really important point in terms of like how you need to always keep your friends and family around you. Whether you're in an amazing relationship or not, your friends and family are so important, because so many people get into a relationship, think that the person that they're in a relationship with is the be all and end all, ditch all their friends, and then all of a sudden the person breaks up with them, and then they're like back knocking on the doors of their friends like, oh yeah, hi, remember me? Remember I ditched you and now I'm back because I need a shoulder to cry on? Don't be that person. Going into the Jacqueline Hill palette, by the way, I'm going to go with probably just like a neutral transition colour just to kind of start us off and to set my base. Unfortunately, there are so many horrible ways of being broken up with. Personally, I was broken up with over text. So I was in a relationship, like I was probably 19 or 20, and I was in what I would call, for that age, a serious relationship, and I was broken up with over text. You know, so there are situations where you feel shitty, you feel vulnerable, you feel like an idiot, you feel like, why did they do that? Why did I allow that to happen? And all of those feelings when it comes to a breakup are 100% completely normal, so don't be hard on yourself. I'm just going to take some of my tea. One of the other things that I would say when it comes to the initial stages of a breakup is that you need a hobby. You need something to fill that gap, and I don't mean start drinking a lot, going out to nightclubs and, you know, kissing random people. I definitely don't mean that. I don't think that that's a good idea. I think you need a hobby. You need to like maybe start going to the gym, start going for walks, join a club, start a YouTube channel, you know, have something there that you're like, no, hang on a minute, hey, I need time by myself to do things that I like. I'm gonna get a hobby for myself. As well as that, you start to do things for yourself. So get a hobby for you. That's it's for nobody else, it's for you. One thing that's always debated with people is whether or not you can remain friends with the person. And again, this is totally dependent on how the relationship ended. You know, if there was cheating of any description, like, I don't know, it's up to yourself, but I mean, do you really want to be friends with someone that cheated on you? Do you? I'm 33, and as much as I have experience in my early 20s with breakups and whatnot, at the moment where I am sitting in my life, it's marriage is breaking up and it's people with children and they're breaking up, and that's a whole other level of messiness and consideration as well. If somebody has broken up with you, you know, maybe cheated on you, broken your heart, and you can be like, I do not want to be friends with you, I do not want to ever see you again, then that's totally fine. But if you have children with that person, then that's a lot more difficult. And the onus is on you as a responsible parent to try your very best to have an amicable, not a relationship, but an amicable situation with that person. I personally tried a couple of times with different people to be friends with them after we went out. It worked in some ways, but then there was always a little change. So for instance, I was trying to be friends with my ex. Not necessarily like that, but I was like trying to kind of advocate for being friends with a particular ex, and they were all for it, and we were like meeting up for pizza, and we're like, you know, because we were friends before we went out, we were quite good friends before we went out, and we would have known each other for like years and years and years and years before we went out. And I just always remember saying like, and then after we broke up, I was like, I really don't want to just throw this away, we're breaking up, but like we've always been friends, let's just keep that going. And we did for a couple of weeks. And then I just think that they got into another relationship, and that wasn't cool with their new partner, and that's fine, that's totally fine, but I reckon that that's what the situation was. I am very much like, I want to be friends with people. Mike is very much like, you want to go for coffee with your ex? Go for it, like absolutely go for it, that's totally not a problem. And that's our relationship. We totally and completely trust one another, and you know, we understand each other, but not everybody is like that. I did have to step back and take that into consideration, that I was like, why? Like, say I'd arranged to meet, let's pretend, this person for coffee, and last minute they were like, oh, I can't go, and then I would like, oh, okay, well let's go next week, and like, oh, I can't go, and then I did hear kind of back through somebody else that like, oh yeah, it's probably not something that the new girlfriend would like. I'm like, that is totally cool, that is not my problem, and yeah, that's fine. And then that friendship, relationship, everything, my whole communication with that person ended. Like, it's gone, it's done, dusted. I can't even remember the last time I spoke to that person. I had another ex, however, that whenever they were back in the same town that we were from, we would meet up for coffee, and people found this the weirdest thing. They were like, how can you meet up with him, like, you know, your ex-boyfriend? I'm like, yeah, but like, we're not meeting up to, you know, score each other. Like, we're meeting up to be like, hey, how are your parents? How's your career? Do you know, it's kind of funny, like, people think you're meeting up with your ex, like, so what? You're people, you were friends, you were, you know, very much primarily friends in your relationship. In my experience, you can be friends, but it has to be okay with their new partner, your new partner, and you also have to be really, really, really clear that, you know, one person doesn't think, oh, we're getting back together, whereas you're like, no, we're not getting back together. So I suppose your intentions in terms of your friendship have to be very, very clear. If people have mutual friends, it can be a little bit more difficult to really have that like element of separation. So if you somebody that, you know, a lot of times you get really friendly with people's families, maybe their siblings or their parents even, and you're like, oh, like, I really miss hanging out with, you know, the sister or whatever, and that can be that can be quite tricky, because you're trying to stay friends with this person, but they're your ex and you're finding it difficult, and but then you really want to stay friends with the family. Sorry, I just realized that I was talking and like doing my makeup really, really slowly, so I just went off camera and did my eyebrows really quickly. Yeah, my eyebrows, I'm just having issues with them these days. Nothing new at all. Anyway, and also it's just like literally turned into monsoon season outside my window, so I've just turned on my ring light, and that's the reason why you're going to see a difference in the lighting from the last piece to now. I was using Unruly pretty much from the Killy palette all over my eyes. This is such a beautiful colour, and it looks really maroon, but when you put it on, it can go really, really pink, and if you mix the white with that, you can get it really, really pink. I don't really want to go pink today. I want to kind of stick with more like berry kind of mauvey colours, so that's what I'm going to do. I did a video last year on, I think it was makeup for under €15. It was one of my Christmas specials that I did, using this little palette from Pennies, and I'm going to pop into it now. I do remember having really, really good fun with this. It was a lovely little palette. Obviously they're kind of mimicked, I guess, on the Huda Beauty, but they're lovely colours. They're really, really nice. So what I'm going to do is use, yeah, a couple of these, see how we get on, in a case where maybe you might have to move out, you know, and that's not a nice situation. Like that's a really, yeah, that's a tough situation where you've broken up with somebody and you actually have to move out of a home, or they have to move out or whatnot. Where possible, I would say go to a different house, like go to a whole nother part of your town if you can at all, or move in with a friend, or just do something totally different. Another thing I will say is, please, 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 if you're after breaking up with somebody and you have to move out of a house and you have to move back in with your parents or a parent or a sibling, that's not a big deal, and don't let that be something that knocks your confidence as a person or as an adult, because I know it can, and it makes sense that it would if you're like, oh my god, like a year ago we were, be it engaged, or we were getting a dog together or whatever, and now I'm back living with my parents. Like, don't try not to let that be a negative thing. Remember how lucky you are to have parents or a person or a friend or whatever that is going to let you back in and is going to be there for you in your time of needs. Just kind of remember to be grateful for the people that are around you around your time of mourning. And it is a time of mourning. And I remember when I was younger and I had a really, really bad heartbreak, like really, really bad. I was just, oh, you know, someone just did something really shitty to me, and I was only really young, and basically like they embarrassed the life out of me. You know, they cheated on me with loads of people in my year, and everybody knew about it and nobody told me, and it was horrendous. It was so embarrassing, and I remember being like, oh, this is like grief, like this is like somebody has died. And okay, maybe if, you know, somebody has died belonging to you, you're gonna be like, please stop being so dramatic, but I genuinely mean it. It is a grief, and it is a grieving period. And even though I was only very, very young at that stage, I actually, like, I felt that pain in my chest. I felt that actual heartbreak, and I remember saying it to my mum. I was like, I actually feel like they have died. Because they had died in my head. They weren't the person that I thought they were. They'd done these horrible things to me, and they'd embarrassed me, they'd done all these things, and they weren't the person that I'd initially fallen in love with, or fallen in like with, whatever it was at the time. But they weren't that person, and to me that person was gone, and they were never, ever, ever coming back. Even though physically the person would have been there in front of me, emotionally that was not the same person that I would have fallen in love with or spent all that lovely time with or whatnot. So it is a grieving process, so give yourself a break. You know, don't be hard on yourself and thinking like, oh my god, I just need to get over this. Like, no, you don't. You need to take your time. You need to learn from the experience, and you need to just be kind to yourself. So I'm just continuing with, I'm using this lovely, this kind of color here. Whether it's going to focus or not, I don't know, but I'm using this lovely color here. It's got a little bit of shimmer in it, and it's super, super dark. And to be fair, these PS eyeshadows, they blend really, really nicely, so I'm very happy with it. When we're talking about self-care and about grief and about looking after yourself and looking after your mental health when it comes to a breakup, I would say do not be in any way hesitant about going to counselling. I think that talk therapy is totally underrated in society. I think it's just so, I keep saying it's so important, but like all these things are important, but in particular going to somebody who is outside of the situation, does not know you, does not know your ex, doesn't know your family, doesn't know whatever the situation is, you know, doesn't have any kind of bias towards the situation, and talking it out with them, there is so much to be said for it. So if you're sitting there and you're watching this and you're in bits, or you know, maybe you broke up with somebody a year ago and you still don't feel like you're over them, or you still don't feel like you've healed properly from the whole experience, or you know, maybe you found out yesterday that they have a new girlfriend, or that, you know, they're going to have a baby with somebody, or you know, something really that's potentially kind of like, that's a little bit hurtful, even though, you know, it's been a year, I should be over this. No, there's no should in any of this. You feel how you feel, and that's just the end of it. But even at that stage, I would say don't be behind the door in thinking, no, I actually need to go and talk to somebody. I need to talk this out because you deserve that. You deserve to get closure from this situation, and you deserve to treat yourself and your mental health as an absolute priority, and to make sure that you do the very best that you can for yourself in order to help you to grow as a person and to move on, and not to be scarred by this scenario. And it's actually really funny. I'm just talking to somebody at the moment about, they're telling me about a situation where a friend of theirs was cheated on. And we're over and back on WhatsApp voice notes, and we're having this conversation. And we're just talking about how, you know, somebody being cheated on, let's say, can 100% have a situation where they carry that trust issue that's stemmed from the cheating situation into their next relationship. And that is wrong. Like, that's wrong, but sometimes that can't be helped. So for instance, let's pretend that I get with somebody and they've been cheated on, and they are like, where are you going? Who are you hanging out with? Why are you doing that? And I'm like, why? What did I do? Like, what? I didn't do anything. And that's exactly it. You carry that into your next relationship, and that's only going to be a negative thing for your new partner. Something like counselling, going to talk to a therapist. You 100% deserve to have that grieving time, that processing time. And if you need to go to a therapist, so what? You know, if you can afford 50 or 60 euro to talk to somebody for an hour, I know it sounds like an awful lot of money, and it is an awful lot of money, but if you come out of that session and you're like, oh, I feel so much better, that makes sense. Or if you gain tools from that session that you can use in life to help you get through that breakup, like the best thing ever. We have these things at our disposal. We have the internet now. You literally pick up your phone, you're like, let's just Google a psychotherapist or Google a counsellor, and you can just make an appointment. You can email somebody. You don't even have to ring someone. Anyway, back to the makeup. Yeah, that's where we're at. Lovely mauve colour. Love this little berry velvets. Don't know if it's still there, but anyway. So what I'm going to do now is I just kind of want to smoke out these edges a little bit more, so I'm going to pop into one of the lighter colours. So while we are waiting on the lashes to settle and whatever, I'm going to go, and because my battery light is now flashing, which is great, I'm going to go and put on my base. What I've gone ahead and done was popped down my base and all those kinds of things. I'm using something totally random. So my sister's like the source of all my new products, so she suggested this Catrice 10-in-1 Dream Primer. Now, you know, I'm kind of like not a primer person anymore, but she was the one that talked me out of primers, and now she's going to be the person that talks me back into primers. So I put this on as a primer, and then what I went with was a total old foundation for me, the Flormar Perfect Coverage Foundation. And this is really, really cakey. I think when you're doing a really dramatic eye and you want your kind of foundation to be nice and full coverage and be able to hold your highlight and all your other products quite well, that this is quite a good one. I have worn this a lot of times to weddings, and it wears really, really, really well. So just FYI on that. I think then another important point to talk about is how you kind of support somebody within your life that's going through a breakup. So sometimes breakups are as difficult, no, not as difficult, but are difficult. So I totally underestimated the amount of battery time I had left. So I'm here on my phone, great. Anyway, it's good to have a backup, it's good to have a backup. I think the last point that I was kind of starting to talk about was how you can, I guess, care for and support somebody that is going through a breakup. So somebody that is really trying to cope, and who might be just completely heartbroken and really feeling like they're struggling. A lot of times we think that we need to give advice, and we feel like we need to tell somebody, this is exactly what you need to do. You need to do X, Y, and Z. And then we get mad at them because they don't do that. I think when it comes to breakups, and particularly where there's maybe a story or a situation where there's maybe two sides to a story, I think it's important to just listen to that person and just be there for them, but just listen. And, you know, maybe if you did kind of want to say to them, do you want my opinion on this? And then talk to them from there. I just think we should put a lot more weight into being a listener as opposed to being someone that's giving advice. So that's just my 2 cents on everything. So that's it, guys. I really hope you enjoy the second episode of Tea, Chats and Makeup. Thank you, and I will see you next time. Bye.